Anoa, I have Anoa on the line, but Anoa, I don't have any video for you. What's up with your video?
Hello?
Yeah, I got you on the line, Anoa. What's up?
Okay, great.
Where's your video?
I'm looking, I see my video. I don't know why
Oh,
I'm working on it on this end, but how are you guys doing tonight?
we're doing good. We're talking about just got over onto John Lewis and this debate and this sit-in that they have going on. So tell me what were your thoughts about it? And you had a lot to say about it. So I'll let you speak for yourself. Go for it.
Yes, I had a lot to say about it. Pretty much, this like people have already said, like folks have already added in, this is political theater. I mean, I really do feel like, and I saw Keith Ellison, shout out to Keith Ellison because I'm a big fan of Keith Ellison, but I don't necessarily agree with Keith Ellison, Donna Edwards, Barbara Lee, all the rest of them on this right now.
Mm-hmm.
Keith Ellison said that they're sitting in for all gun victims, which is really interesting considering the legislation, what they want to vote on does not affect but a paltry potential fraction of
Right.
future victims, right?
Right.
I mean, and let's be clear, this is not to say that what has happened, what has occurred is not like, or the Orlando massacre is very real.
Mm-hmm.
It's very horrific. It's atrocious. September 11th was very real. It was horrific and atrocious. And we had this rush to do something. We must act. We must do something. And we ended up with the Patriot Act. We ended up with
Yep.
Afghanistan. We ended up with a war in Iraq.
Yep.
We ended up with Patriot Act 2 and the subsequent Detention Act. I mean, seriously, like I know folks get their backs up because when you start talking about civil liberties, oh my God, you're siding with the NRA. No, 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 no. Let's be real. Civil liberties and deprivation of rights is a very real issue. It
Yeah.
is a very real issue. And there are so many stories ever since the Patriot Act, ever since this no-fly list was created. I mean, there's a no-fly list, then there's also the terrorist watch list. You
Mm-hmm.
can be on the terrorist watch list even if you just happen to be a family member of someone that's actually a person of interest. You yourself don't actually have to have done anything to be on this list. And no, it's not just, oh, you're inconvenienced for a few days. There are people who cannot get off the damn list.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be on there. They can't prove they you don't know why you're on the list because there's some. The Intercept did a piece a couple years ago. I think they might have been 2 years ago now.
Yep.
Intercept did a piece that actually dug into,
How you got on it?
shout out to the ability to do FOIA requests about what the criteria and stuff was to get on these lists because it's like some really amorphous, random stuff in there. And quite honestly, they can basically characterize whoever they want as a terrorist and put you on a list. There are organizations that are what we consider good progressive organizations, like the American Friends Service Committee, AFSC. In some places, the AFSC in this country, AFSC has been on the terrorist watch list. Okay, so the list, John Lewis himself, John
Yeah.
Lewis and Ted Kennedy, both were on such lists. So this is such low hanging fruit. This is like so it's not just the people. It took Ted Kennedy 3 weeks to get off the list. And Ted Kennedy was a sitting U.S. senator from one of the most famous political families in America. And he had the money and the power to do so. And it still took him 3 weeks. Imagine if you're just regular person in America that does not have money for a lawyer that specializes in this area to then have to go through the process of getting your name removed. And
Yeah.
even if you are removed, the way they had the legislation worded in the Senate version of the bill was in the past 5 years, and in any
Right.
5 year period, if you had been on there, it doesn't matter why you were on there, you would not be permitted to own a gun. Now I know we can get into back and forth about whether or not people should own guns and individual rights to ownership.
Right.
This ain't that conversation for me personally, right? I do think that we
Hmm.
need to have meaningful, comprehensive reform. And this is a really great show of support and effort right now happening. You got senators
Yeah.
sitting on the floor, the U.S. House of Representative members. This is great, right? Except for the fact that y'all ain't talking about nothing. Like,
Right.
seriously. My sister, I live in Atlanta. I live in John Lewis's damn district, okay? And my sister, coming back from the People's Summit, coming back from our great Kumbaya moment this weekend, my sister gets held up at gunpoint by what seemed like two 16-year-olds with handguns. We not talking about handguns. Ain't nobody trying to talk about that. Ain't nobody trying to talk about the fact that 70% of violent gun deaths are caused by handguns.
Yeah.
All the other guns, like every other gun used, is lumped in a category to make up that other 30%. 70% of gun deaths, the largest bulk of gun deaths that we're supposedly so stressed and worried about, are caused by handguns. Ain't nothing you talking about right now got nothing to do with handguns.
Well, let me add, let me
Now,
jump in there. Let me jump in there. So, what do we do? What do we do? Besides the fact that what they're doing, they're forwarding a problematic policy, right? A racist, Islamophobic policy that not only gets people of Middle Eastern descent, but it gets anybody, and it can get in everybody without any
my
recourse.
daughter has been on the extra screening list
Yeah.
from the time she was about 3 years old to about 11 or 12. And she would get patted down from the time she, like I said, from the time she, the first time my child was patted down by security in Newark Airport was when she was 3 years old. And I had my son, who was an infant at the time, and I had to escort my frightened child because some man tried to touch her. And I had to ask him, like, could y'all at least bring us a woman? Like,
Wow.
it's ridiculous. She has a Muslim first name and a Muslim, she has an Arabic first name and an Arabic middle name. And Nayla is the one out of all of us. I travel with children, and it's my 3-year-old that gets flagged for extra screening. What kind of sense does that make?
That's
You know what I'm saying? Like what do
Yeah.
what do we do? You're asking what do we do?
Yeah. So what do we do?
need to-
Well, actually,
there is
let me
a- there
let me
is a-
finish the question. Let me finish that
No,
question
go
because
ahead, go ahead.
what do we?
I've been so frustrated all day with
I,
this.
I see, and I can understand why. But what are let's say John Lewis? What is he supposed to do when there's absolutely no ground that he can get whatsoever with Republicans with regard to guns? Forget about handguns. We can't even get automatic. We can't even get the AR-15 off the street, right? So forget about that. What is he supposed to do? Are they supposed to miss this opportunity because of the problems with this particular policy that's being used to implement this version of? I mean, they can't do anything. So should they do nothing because this something that they're trying is so problematic?
Oh, I mean, if you doing something and what you're doing is problematic, are you really even doing anything? Like you doing something that's highly problematic, that's so anti, rights and civil liberty and stuff like that. And let's be clear, like I have a very different position than I think a lot of people who consider themselves progressives do when it comes to guns. For the simple fact that people that look like me for so many years, for so many hundreds of years in this country, were denied the right to actually protect and arm and self-determination, self-defense. So personally, I'm not in favor of any absolute gun bans. There is a great book by my mom's mentor, Akinyele Emoja, who's head of the African American Studies Department at Georgia State University, about black gun clubs in the South during the height of the civil rights movement, and how black communities have defended themselves. So personally, but this question about, well, at least they're doing something. Okay, if you go out there and you're doing something, but what you doing isn't really doing anything, are you actually doing something, or are you just posing for the cameras? So my issue is there's a lot that can be done. I do think that the provision requesting universal background checks, I think that's a good provision. And that's something that needs, I mean, the point is they had a super majority at one point in time. And that's back when Hillary Clinton was Annie Oakley, right? Talking about how much she loved guns and stuff. Seriously, like, and we had already had Columbine and several other mass shootings at that point, right? We've had plenty of mass shootings in the last 20 years that it don't matter, like, that this one is the worst one since then. It's the fact that we've already been having them.
Yeah.
So the time to act, especially when you got a super majority, you got a super majority, and you got a Democratic president, like, really, and you did not act. So now we're like, well, finally people are taking a stand. You taking a stand now when
You had a chance to do it before.
Well, you had, but my issue though, Ben, is there are actual things that we can do. Congress, there's a ban. I think it's a ban. They don't actually even study gun violence, right? So we don't even actually know. We're talking about Band-Aids on fatal wounds here. Because when we're talking about, the reason why we have high rates of violent crime in certain areas, we're not even looking at addressing the actual causes.
Right.
We're talking about measures that's not even going to do anything to alleviate the majority of violent gun. As one of the callers ahead of me said, that violent gun crimes, when we talk about that number, because here's my other problem. They throw out numbers that are ultimately meaningless for what they're talking about. They're scaring you with this 30,000 number, but nobody wants to talk about suicide prevention. Yeah. Right? Nobody wants to talk about that stuff, but we want to talk about banning assault weapons in the context of deaths that are caused by suicide. And no,
Right.
most people are not killing themselves with AR-15s. AR-15, I personally do not believe that's a gun that needs to be in civilian hands. But that's, again, that's another conversation. Are you talking about an assault weapons ban? Okay, that's something that makes sense. But the idea that they're at least trying to find a middle ground with Republicans. But isn't this our issue? Isn't this what we've been struggling against for the past year?
Yep.
That we're settling, like everybody's cheering that Bernie is on. Bernie's a damn fool for getting on board with this, okay? Like y'all can come hate me if you want to, but I'm gonna keep it real with you. I'm gonna keep it real. I'm not telling you no hustle. Like seriously.
Okay, hang
Bernie's
on.
a damn fool for jumping on the bandwagon.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, because really, if you look at the force and the momentum behind the PR around this, right? This is like the crown jewel. This is the biggest thing that the Democrats have done in damn it years, right? So this looks like a great thing to be a consensus, to have consensus around. This is the wrong thing to be on the opposite side of from a PR perspective. Now, he's not running for president anymore, right? So that's pretty much all said and done. So he doesn't have any obvious political reason to stand for this, right? But my question is he really doing the wrong thing when so many people are deceived by our leaders about this? Is this the mountain that he wants to fall on his sword on?
For somebody who's ran on principles, right? For someone who's ran on being the one person to stand up and say what is right, regardless of whatever else anybody else is doing, regardless of where the cameras are, he shows up, he waves, everybody cheers, and then he went on about his business. Dude, like seriously, I support you and everything. I'm down for the cause, but I'm very disappointed. I'm very disappointed in his tweets most recently about dangerously mentally ill people and also endorsing this damn. This is somebody that champions the fact that he is against the Patriot Act.
What's his phrase? Potential terrorist. He tweeted out.
Potential terrorist. What the hell is apparently Black Lives Matter people are potential terrorists.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, and I'm just, but still, I still have to ask the question.
My daddy done pulled his file via FOIA years ago. So I don't consider our history with COINTELPRO and stuff. I am not here for the government's labels on people without some real transparency on what is going on in this process. This is low-hanging fruit because they can scare y'all with this war on terrorism BS. That's why they try to tell you the Orlando shooting was ISIS.
Yeah,
right?
And this is why we've been unpacking this. We've been trying to unpack this, and you see, oh my God, it's so disgusting when you finally see it, and you see the subtle ways, the very seductive and subtle ways that they control the narrative with the appearance that they're doing and addressing the right thing. Like, all you have to do is tune in to NPR this week as they go full disaster porn, right? They're doing all of the heart-wrenching sob stories, which they are heart-wrenching and they will make you tear up, but then they cast them in the narrative of Islamic terrorism. And it is it's disgusting.
Exactly. I mean, one quick thing.
Yeah,
Congress could actually study gun deaths. We have a gun violence epidemic, and there's no attention, no congressional action being taken on it in general across the board. We could actually have meaningful reforms to address the systemic issues that lead to violence in our communities, not just urban centers, our rural communities as well. We're not trying to talk about education, job access, training, mental health care in general, health care for all. Like seriously, these are real issues that affect this is not just a registering or controlling that physical gun. We got to deal with the conditions that people are living in. I mean, we really want to do something, that's what we got to handle. So I appreciate you for having me come on.
My pleasure. We didn't have any video of you. It's all audio, but thanks to Anoa so much for coming on.
No, I don't know. With Skype, I got to figure out how to set up my camera in Skype. But I got my microphone back, so
hey, it sounds great. All right. Thanks so much for the. All right. Talk soon.